Welcome to another Kundalini Q&A. This is a bit of a special episode. So what happened was I went live on Instagram with the intention of responding to some questions that I had received earlier. I was live on Instagram just to be a little interactive while I record some of the questions, but instead some great fellow travelers of the path joined me live on Instagram, and we got to chatting, and they shared some insights, some great questions. And so I never got to the questions that I was planning to respond to, but instead we had some really rich back and forth about the Kundalini process relating to things like boundaries. We talked a lot about kriyas, chakras, the nervous system, meditation, here and there. So it's a bit of a sloppy episode, you could say. Throughout the episode, I am mentioning that I'm going to eventually respond to these questions that I had planned about Kundalini and drugs and doubting our experience with Kundalini, but I never got around to answering those questions yet. In a future episode, I definitely will. But this live session was really great. It was really great to connect with people in person. And so we'll get right into it here. Keep that in mind. That's why I'm looking away from the camera. I'm looking at my phone. In the background, I was playing some music. This mic did not pick up the music, so I'm talking a little bit about the music here and there. In case you're wondering, what's going on, why is it a little all over the place? That's why, but there's some value here, so I'm uploading it for you to enjoy and see what you get out of it. Of course, check out the description for everything you need to know and how to support me and get some free stuff and all that kind of stuff. I've got some courses coming out. You can keep an eye out for those. BrentSpirits.com, Instagram @BrentSpirits, and email info@BrentSpirits.com. Enjoy the episode. Just waiting for Mo City to type their question. Try and incorporate it. Grace Light, welcome. Quincy, welcome. If you have a question, you can type it in the chat. I'll do my best to help you out. Mo City writes, I've been going through it around 2 years, and past few months I've been feeling it a lot in my throat chakra. The thing is starting to get more pressure that causes my head to move backward when I meditate. Okay. Is there more to your question there, Mo City, before I give you a response? Welcome, Maria. I tried some techniques and mantra and poses. It helps, but I feel still not moving as smoothly. Okay. So Mo City, and I guess this is universal information here regarding Kundalini. Smooth or bumpy doesn't really determine whether we're doing something right or wrong, right? If the process isn't smooth, it doesn't mean that there's something going wrong per se. It means that it's doing its work. Things are being cleared out and cleansed, and that's why it's a little bumpy, a little turbulent, a little uncomfortable at times. And so you're describing here that you've been feeling it a lot in your throat chakra, and the thing is starting to get more pressure that causes your head to move backward when you meditate. So the way I see it, this is the Kundalini doing its work in those areas, right? If you're describing your head moving back, that's your neck. It's opening up the throat to be open, right? In the same way, we can use our body language here, right? If I'm closed off, right? This is how somebody might get when they are, afraid of being vulnerable. They might cross their arms. What they're doing is they're covering up their heart. They're protecting their heart, right? Whereas, if somebody is open, spreading their arms nice and wide, heart is open. And it's not just a body language thing. It also translates energetically, emotionally. It signals to others, I'm open, I'm vulnerable. You can come to receive. You can also offer, and I will receive it. So that's the heart stuff. We can see it also with the throat here, right? We say we get choked up. When we can't express emotions, we get choked up. We feel like there's, a lump in our throats. And so the body is performing a yoga pose, also known as a kriya here, which is opening the throat, right? And it's happening spontaneously. And so you can trust that the energy is doing the right thing. It's doing exactly what it needs to do. And with that opening, there may come some difficulty, some difficult emotions. You may cry. You may feel like vocalizing, some like screaming, yelling, any type of expression, anything you've been holding on will begin to be begin to be allowed to come out. And not necessarily, it doesn't mean you're going to go into a full-blown like emotional expression per se, but you can know that things are happening in the throat area and it's okay. It's not that you need to fight this movement. Relax with it, go into it. There are some traditional yoga poses that very much incorporate like putting your head on the floor and allowing the throat to open, like I think fish pose. That might be something you can explore, but you're doing real natural, organic, spontaneous yoga that's inspired by the divine within you. And so just surrender, go into meditation, let it open, let it open. So Mo City is responding here saying, when I do emotion, there's some crying, feeling overwhelmed, choking. It's hard to focus big sometimes. So sometimes people get a little bit caught up in this idea of focusing in meditation. It's like I have to focus, either it's on the breath or on a mantra or on God or consciousness or whatever. But if you redefine your meditation as giving yourself full permission to just be with yourself and experience whatever may arise on its own, then you can let go of this idea of, having trouble focusing, right? And so when you meditate or when you lie down and relax, allow this energy to move through you. Allow it to have the expression. The emotions will come up. Whatever wants to come up, let it come up. Let it come up. Eventually, it will subside because it's open now. It doesn't need to do all of this, spontaneous movements and kriyas and things like that. So Mo City is responding here saying that, like at work with customers. So yes, so Kundalini, this process can happen in environments and contexts where, it's maybe not appropriate to have your throat starting to open and stuff. So what you can do, and you got to really trust me on this, give it a try. Turn inwards and say thank you, Kundalini, thank you, God, thank you, Divine Mother, however you want to conceive of it. Thank you for doing this work on me. I appreciate it. I'm willing to cooperate with you, but I ask that you cooperate with me a little bit. I'm at work. I've got responsibilities. I can't do spiritual work right now. But when I get home for 1 hour, I'm all yours. Thrash me around the room. Bend my spine this way, that way. If you want me to cry, I'll cry. If you want me to meditate, put me into meditation. Give me the full-blown experience. I'm not going to, resist. And it will make that deal with you. You'll see. It responds very well. I've shared this with many people. They all come back to me saying, yeah, that works. You have to give yourself time and space to go through this process. If you don't, well, then it's going to start happening throughout your day at work, when you're hanging out with your family, whatever it is. So keep that in mind, okay? Great questions. Thank you so much, Mo City. Persang, please go ahead and ask your question. And I will give you a response there. Paul Pomegranate responds to Mo City here saying, I experienced so much throat chakra stuff from my Kundalini awakening. I really enjoyed toning and singing gibberish. Whatever sounds coming out of my mouth match how I feel. Exactly. So I would argue that toning, the mantras that we hear, these Sanskrit mantras, I think this was language that was developed intuitively, spontaneously over thousands of years, as opposed to created by people's minds. So it was language that comes forth spontaneously through people going through Kundalini awakening and whatnot. And that's why even like certain languages like Sanskrit, the words have a feeling to them, whether you know the meaning or not. It's because they're coming through from that awakened throat chakra, that intelligence of the throat chakra. And this goes for all the yoga poses as well. They weren't made up by, some guy or, writing a diagram for what yoga poses. They were observed by people going through Kundalini awakening, having them happen to them spontaneously, and then they were repeated and mimicked by others. So thanks for sharing that, Poe Pomegranate. S. Array S asks, if you hear your inner voice constantly, like a radio channel, calling your name, is that also Kundalini? Well, we can answer this in a few different ways. In the broadest sense, now I'll clarify a little bit, but in the broadest sense, anything that we experience is coming from our Kundalini in some capacity or not, because Kundalini is a very specific form of Shakti, and Shakti is all there is in the world and the universe. And so, if that essence or that presence that's calling your name feels as if it's coming from a higher place, a transcendent place, You can pay attention to it. You can call it your Kundalini. You can call it your higher self, your intuition, your heart, your inner guidance, source energy. Normally not normally, pretty much always, those messages that come through intuitively, they feel right. They're not something that comes in and says, hey, you're a piece of garbage, or go and hurt this person, or like you're not good enough. It's always coming from a place. So you got to tune in to, how does that feel when you're hearing your name being called? What's the feeling there? Is it calming? Is it soothing? Is it peaceful? Tune into it, listen to it. So Persang's first part of his question says, I've been dealing with Kundalini for some years, and I am somewhat aware of the challenges that can come in this path. I have a sister who is a bit differently abled by her neck. Okay. We'll wait for part 2. The common side, welcome. Just taking some questions about Kundalini awakening here before I begin recording another episode for the podcast. We'll be talking about psychedelics, drugs, doubting our experiences. So common, you have the most visceral Kundalini awakening experience in your body. Experience it on every level, every sense. You find out that other people are experiencing it too online. There's books about it. Credible people are talking about it. Maybe people you know and trust are talking about their experiences with it. And still you're like, I don't know if this is real. It's really fascinating stuff. Persang's part 2 says, because of which she has suffered greatly in her life. Seeing her suffering, I advise her to meditate. I tried to explain to her some concepts, but it's really difficult as she doesn't understand any. Okay. So this is a great example, Persang, of how it's not necessarily important to understand the concepts about Kundalini awakening. Okay. So Persang sharing here that she's experiencing energy ahead and pain in her head. Okay. So rather than trying to explain to your sister who may not be in a position to understand, you're sharing here due to her, I guess she's differently abled, but some people in general are experiencing these things and they can't understand because they're either some sort of resistance around their belief systems and they can't really grok it, they can't accept it, right? And so, got it, Persang. And so we don't necessarily have to be forceful about our concepts and the teachings. And it's like we're approaching in a very masculine way. And, with that, there may come some clashing between, you just described that she's your sister. I'm going to assume that she has a very feminine disposition. And you can trust the intelligence of her body, the intelligence of her Kundalini, which seems to be active and moving through her. Trust that it's going to take care of her. It's going to be okay. You don't need to come in and take some sort of responsibility for her process, which may be difficult, of course, because she's your sister and you're describing that, she may need your help with other things in life. And so maybe there's a natural tendency there for you to want to hold her hand and help her out. And it can be frustrating and difficult when you're not able to get through to her. But I want you to really sit and recognize a couple things. One, she's God in disguise. She knows how to get through this. She's going to figure it out. She's got the inner wisdom to figure it out. Two, she's got awakened Kundalini. It's moving through her. The divine is already with her. And so what you can do, instead of trying to be forceful and overly masculine about, trying to help, just sit with her. Sit with her experience. Meditate with her. You can relate with her through your nervous system, which is intuitive. It's not logical. It's not conceptual. It's not overly masculine. You can just hold space for her in your nervous system. And you'll see eventually something will stabilize. She may open up to whatever you're having to offer, and she may ask for something. And then you can approach her from that place. But in general, if somebody's not able to accept your concepts, we don't have to figure out, what combination of words we're supposed to use to get through them. No. Be in your own heart, and you'll be able to transmit. There are many great masters, took vows of silence, transmitted incredible things, didn't say a word. Ramana Maharshi transmitted Shakti, the presence of Kundalini without even using the word Kundalini. It's there in Zen as well. Zen, they don't mess around. Very bare bones, very minimal. They don't talk about Kundalini. You just sit in silence. The transmission is happening. If you talk about it, they may say, shut up. We don't know what you're talking about. Just be quiet. That's Zen. Concepts get in the way often. And so we want to be mindful not to be overly conceptual about it. But I understand where you're coming from. You know, that's your sister. You care about her. You want to support. You've been around the spiritual journey. I know we've been in touch. You got a lot of deep wisdom and understanding and insight. And, you know, you've been reading the books and watching the videos and you want to share and she's not open. I totally understand the frustration. So there's a lesson there for us as well. And I'm speaking from experience here. Spiritual teacher. There's people in my life too are experiencing all sorts of things. And, you know, I want to try and help. And I've, you know, come at them with things that they're not able to receive. And so you learn over time that, you know, it's not the way to do it. But what you can do is, like I said, relax, turn inwards, trust in the nervous system to do the transmission for her. Yeah. So Prasang, you're saying, you know, you're trying to make her understand so that she feels okay. And I get that. Yeah. So you can help her to understand by your vibration, your presence. If you come across in a state of acceptance, peace, steadiness, that will transmit. Wish you all the best with that. I know it's not an easy situation. Welcome those that have just joined here. Anima, Claire, Maria says, I'm having head pressure right now. This may work, it may not. Give it a try. Put the tongue up to the roof of your mouth. Close the energetic channel from your head to the rest of your body. Allow that excess energy to flow into your body. See what happens. It's called the Jiva Bandha, also called the loop of the soul. Paul Pomegranate says, oh my goodness, I'd love a whole podcast about how to support someone going through a Kundalini awakening. Love those tips so far. Yeah, not easy. Not easy. How to support somebody go through Kundalini awakening. Like I said, you got to trust. They're going through the awakening of God within them. Just be with them. Just be with them. They're going to figure it out. Array S says, okay, here's another question. I believe I have the awakening since I remember myself. I am still busy with it. Why is it taking so long? And I'm always very scared of the spirit world. Can't help it. You said once that it could take like 10 years, but I'm 43 now and still busy with it. Right. So, Array S, I've got to talk about how long it takes. Maybe that's the one you heard. I think the most important thing that you should consider here is you mentioned that you've got some fear of the spirit world. Look into that. We know, what is it? Maybe you've had some experiences with, you know, some dark things in the spirit world. Maybe there's some trauma around being involved in a sort of group or, you know, dare I say cult or religion that sort of, you know, turned you off of spirituality, made you be afraid of it. Maybe there's fear around looking at, you know, what's going on inside of you, some of the deeper stuff, some of the emotional stuff, beliefs, feelings of shame, guilt, unworthiness, etc. I think if you look into that, like give yourself time and space in like a very conscious, intentional way to look into the stuff, to turn toward it, move through your fear, I think then you can see a little bit of progress in terms of, you know, things beginning to open up. That's one thing I think a lot of people fail to really grasp, is that, you know, you're going through Kundalini awakening. You need to give yourself time and space to just go through it, which means like carving out like an hour a day or whatever it is, as much time as possible, and let these things come up. Let fear come up. Let fear. If you're afraid of the process, afraid of the spirit world and that sort of thing, it's gonna be very, very difficult. I understand why this stuff can be scary. Then you can start to do some work around it, some shadow work around, you know, why am I afraid? What's there? What's the resistance there? Prasang says he thinks his sister's also having some experiences that relate to your past lives. Yes, very, very common. Very common that we have some things come up from our past lives. So one thing you can consider is that if she's experiencing Kundalini phenomena from past lives, it's likely that she had very rich spiritual lives prior, and you can sort of tune in and recognize that she's got a plethora of deep, deep wisdom that she can rely on from her previous lifetimes as well. And she's going to be okay. You just have to be with her this whole space. Hey, Claire. Claire says, hey, Brent, what do you recommend for someone who feels like the process is stuck? I have a feeling I need to strengthen my body to hold the energy. Any thoughts? Yeah, Claire. So I'm going to assume by the feeling of needing to strengthen your body to hold the energy, I'm going to assume that you don't mean like going and lifting heavy weights, but more of strengthening the nervous system to be able to hold that charge. And yes, that is very, very important. As Shakti, Kundalini Shakti, the force, this energetic force moves through our system. If our nervous system is not accustomed to it, it will shut it out. It will spill over. We'll be ungrounded. We won't be able to hold it steady. And so I invite you to engage in a very serious, at least 20 minutes a day of sitting still in meditation, which means just focusing on the breath in the belly and feeling from head to toe the entire body becoming saturated with Shakti. The entire body, head to toe. And if you can move that 20-minute meditation practice to even more, like the more you meditate, the more your nervous system becomes accustomed to this energy. The more you allow the energy to flow, the nervous system says, okay, this is safe. It's okay to let it flow. And then that's how you can move through some of, the feelings of being stuck. So let me know, Claire, how that sounds. Maybe you have a 20-minute meditation practice already. Let me know, and I'll see what else comes through. Array S says, I think I have multiple abilities, but I don't understand it, or I learn about them, but it takes forever. Yeah, we've all got many abilities, psychic abilities, gifts, etc. The more we meditate and relax, like I was sharing with Claire, the more we just allow our nervous system to handle this stuff for us. Abilities will come online, we'll learn how to handle them. It all will kind of take care of itself. And I know that's a bit of a quick, minimalist answer here, but I'm just trying to keep up with the chat as well. Aster Flower asks, does lifting weights help the Kundalini clearing process? For some, maybe. Could help with grounding. Could help with bringing your body, some awareness into your body. Lifting weights can also trigger some feelings of unworthiness, in terms of insecurity, fear around the weights themselves, depending how much you're lifting and stuff. Speaking from experience here, I used to power lift, like lift heavy weights. Helped me to, find very grounded, feet on the ground, connecting with my breath, because when you're squatting with, a lot of weight on your back, you start thinking about, what happened yesterday or tomorrow, or you start thinking about some random shit. It's, you're not gonna, the weight will bury you. You have to be totally focused, breath, everything in alignment. So it can be a great practice like yoga, these such things. You could turn it into a yoga, you could say, but not necessary. If it doesn't feel right, there was a period where I would try and do like pull-ups, and I quite literally heard my body shouting after like the second rep, stop. My body was shouting at me, stop. It was just too much. Like I was going through a lot in terms of Kundalini awakening, and my body was like, do not put this extra stress on me. Gotta listen to it. Anima asks, any connection between experiencing the Merkaba during meditation and Kundalini? I'm not too familiar with Merkaba, so please, don't quote me on this, but yeah, there's, if you look into it more, you'll be able to map the Merkaba over to like the chakras and the Kundalini awakening process. It's another system that I guess was developed to encapsulate this awakening process. Like we have the chakra system. You can also have like the Merkaba. Some will say the Merkaba becomes activated, etc. It's all like all talking about the same thing here, just in different systems, because that's the beauty of it. Around the world, people came up with their own metaphors, own symbology, own systems and concepts to describe Kundalini awakening. Of course, the most common one is the chakra system and that sort of thing, but it's not the only one. Persang says, thank you. You're so welcome. Maria says, diet has been critical for me. No fat or protein. No fat or protein. So just carbs. Interesting. If that's working for you, that's cool. Claire says, thanks, Brent. Makes sense. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. And Ima says, I experience both Kundalini and Merkaba regularly. Yeah. All one system if you really think about it. It's not like they're separate processes. It's all connected. All connected. Just taking some questions about Kundalini awakening. If anybody has any, you can type it in the chat here. Is the spontaneous Kundalini awakening considered as a form of divine love? And am I chosen among all the surroundings? So you can consider it as a form of divine love, for sure, that you've been, fortunate enough to have this energy awaken within you. Are you chosen among all the surroundings? It's an interesting question. If you come from a background where you feel super insecure, unworthy, unloved, abandoned, isolated, then you can entertain the idea that, yeah, you've been chosen by the divine to go through Kundalini awakening. Got to be careful with that one because you don't want to turn it into like, I am the chosen one. Everybody bow down to me. I'm special. I had a Kundalini awakening and you didn't. You weren't chosen like me. We got to be careful of those dynamics. So, chosen, not chosen. I would say you're ready. You put in the work, whether you know it or not, and you're ready to go through this process. And if other people aren't, it doesn't mean you're better than them. It doesn't mean you're chosen and they're not. It just means they're going through other things. They're exploring other things. Claire's asking, where's the Merkaba? Honestly, I'm not equipped to answer properly. It's got to do with like some sort of pyramid-shaped triangular energetic field that becomes open or activated or something like that. Honestly, you'll have to look it up. YouTube will have some cool talks about it, but it's not, like I was saying, it's just another concept to describe spiritual awakening. It's just another concept to describe the way that the human being awakens. And some of us are able to experience, in meditation, this maybe symbology, you're feeling it, others not. All just cool creative ways that, we describe the awakening process. Okay, so this is a great Q&A session here. I wasn't expecting so many great questions. I'm having fun here. I might have to postpone the questions I had prepared for another time, which is totally fine. This is what it's all about. This is what this is why I go live, to connect with you all in the moment. Any other questions out there? You can type it in the chat. This song is called Mano 2 by an artist called Nu, N-U, Nu. It is, the lyrics are a poem by Rumi, actually, about love, me and you, Mano 2, me and you. Now, whenever Rumi talks about love, he's not talking about romantic love between him and a partner. He's talking about God. So all of Rumi's love poems, it's all about God. It's all about being in love with God. That is the Sufi path. Of course, those poems apply to love as well. You can interpret them in that way, but this is the way that Rumi relates with God through love poems. Aster Flower asks, is it unavoidable to not discover one's mission on the planet once the clearing process is ended? So once the clearing process of Kundalini is ended, you may quite literally receive clear information about your mission, your calling, your purpose, your vocation. It could come in a variety of different ways. It does not necessarily have to come in a very clear way, though. For me, it did. I was told in a meditation crystal clearly what I would be doing, for how long I would be doing it for, etc. Not everybody's going to have a clear thing like that, but in your heart you'll know. If you look around your life, things will start to come together and it will make sense if you're paying attention to the different themes. For example, maybe you're working at a place goes out of business, suddenly around the same time where you're feeling stable and ready to start offering some things. So you lost your job, Kundalini's stable, starts to make sense that you're meant to transition to a new way. In general, we'll be offering service in some way or another. That does not mean, being a Kundalini author or something, but it does mean that we will be, radiating in some way. It might mean just being the greatest community member, family, friend, parent, etc. Maybe we'll be a musician. Maybe we'll, do art, do business. Maybe we'll be a Kundalini awakened accountant. We need people in all these fields that are awakened, all of these fields, construction, healthcare, everywhere. So maybe your mission will come clearly, maybe it won't, but just pay attention. You can also ask, you can pray, you can ask for clear guidance and support. You will receive the call. The other way I like to think of it is that you can't mess this up. If it's your mission, you can't mess it up. You can't get it wrong. It's gonna unfold the way it's supposed to, guaranteed. So that's what it's all about here. That's why Kundalini awakens, so that we can be transformed and then we can support others in a new way. Array S says, I have so many questions, I will spare you guys. That's okay. You can share some questions. Everybody, I think, is getting some value out of this. Even me too. Things are coming through, and I'm taking note as well of the things I'm saying, because they're coming from somewhere beyond me. So go ahead and share your questions. So I was just talking about this song and Rumi. This is Man 02 by New. There is a Rumi exhibit at a museum in Toronto on this summer. So I'm excited to check that out. See some of Rumi's artifacts, some of, I guess, manuscripts and things like that. Should be pretty cool. Rumi was a mystic. I don't think he really spoke about Kundalini in an open way, but Sufism is a very beautiful path. I don't know too much about it, but I have an interview coming up on the podcast with a man named Joe DeRizo, and he had a Kundalini awakening and found the Sufi path, and it was able to support him, and beautiful practices. He's a really incredible guy. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. We're going to dive deep into Sufism. And if you're not familiar with Sufism, it is the mystic diamond at the center of Islam. And so I like to tell people that Kundalini awakening is not just this Hindu yoga thing. It's really not. It is found in all traditions, even in Islam. They recognize the importance of bringing God into the body and embodying it. That's what Kundalini is all about. So we've got some questions here. Just want to say welcome to all the people that just joined. Mandy, welcome. We're taking questions about Kundalini awakening. If you have one, you can type it in the chats. Anima says, how can we do or manage the hyper-awareness, the telepathy mainly? It can be overwhelming at times. So you can be mindful of what sort of state of being opens you up to the telepathy. For example, if you're looking somebody in the eyes very deeply, you may start to connect with them in a sort of spiritual way, telepathy. You may start to see their past lives, start seeing their aura or whatever, read their mind, whatever it is. Don't look them deeply in the eye. Nothing wrong with that. If you find yourself going into like sort of meditative states when you're in public, and it's kind of opening you up to taking on a lot of people's energy and their whatever psychic junk you could call it, whatever, you gotta maybe distract yourself. And this is pretty interesting because this might mean you have to engage in small talk or take out your phone and go on social media, distract yourself so that you don't go into this really open space until you're able to become astute enough to be skilled to know when to sort of turn those abilities on and use them, and when to relax. And that's how we employ boundaries as well. Often we are given these gifts, but we're given them and we're often unable to really handle them properly, and it's through learning how to handle them that we're initiated into actually using them in a clear and meaningful way. So you can keep that in mind. This is all the training. This is the training, learning how to manage hyper awareness, or like you're saying, telepathy and psychic abilities and stuff. We're given them, and then we learn how to manage them through challenge. That's how we learn. Aster Flower says, how may I know that I have attained enlightenment and I won't have to shake anymore? Well, the shaking that you're referring to, for those that aren't aware, we call those kriyas, is the spontaneous movements that come for some during Kundalini awakening process. I like to think of it in the very simplest way. If there's a dog and you rough the dog up, they're going to shake the tension off. That's what a Kriya is. And so when your tension has been shaken off to a degree where, you don't have to shake anymore, that's when it'll stop. You can move through it quicker if you give yourself time and space to go through the process. But if you're, giving yourself no time at all throughout the day, or only a very small amount of time, or when you do give yourself time, it's not like a full commitment, well, then it's going to drag on, your body's going to shake for a long time. So, think of yourself as like an ascetic, a monk, a nun, a yogi dedicated to this process. What do? They give themselves time to go through it. And then your first part of your question here is, how may I know that I have attained enlightenment? You'll know. Yeah, you'll know. Prasang says, can you please tell about hypersensitivity? I usually take other people's energy and heavy emotions and then get into trouble. How can I protect myself from these? I suffer a lot because of these. Yeah, many people do. So hypersensitivity, like I was speaking earlier to any mom, was, boundaries are very important. So when you're taking other people's energy and heavy emotions and then get into trouble, I would argue, or no, sorry, not I would argue, I would guess that there's probably some people pleasing going on there. There's probably some, allowing people to cross your boundaries, and lack of confidence, you could say. It's very common. This is how I am as well. I mean, part of the reason I do this work is because I have similar tendencies. I want to like help people and support people, and it's the same kind of thing, right? It's very common for all people, light workers, we call them, we're empaths, right? We're sensitive. So employing boundaries and feeling confident about boundaries is like really important. We could start in small ways too. Like one way that I've been like employing boundaries and learning to say no without feeling guilty. It's a weird example, but like sometimes I'm at the gym and people will like ask me to, like the other day, some guy asked me to film him doing some workout. I just said, no, I'm sorry, bud. I was in the zone, I'm working out, and he comes, hey, buddy, can you film me doing this thing? No. I don't have to justify it. I go there, it's me time. So that's one way I'm kind of just showing, like it's an ongoing practice, even for me, learning how to establish boundaries and things like that. And it doesn't mean you're an asshole or, you're a piece of garbage or anything if you're protecting your own energy. And you can also afford certain time and space when you are available. Like right now, I'm on the live. I am available. I'm inviting you. Please send the questions. Don't feel like you're overwhelming me. I've allocated this time energetically. Prior to this, I was meditating, took care of myself. I got some food in me. Now I'm relaxed. I'm here. I'm available. So we can learn how to navigate through, acting with intention. It's difficult stuff. It's ongoing work. SRA says, yes, this is a good question. I'm also like a sponge, sucking everyone's pain and worries. So far I've been sharing some like, conceptual stuff, but here's a practice. You sit in meditation and you feel your core, like you feel like a light in your core. And you draw any of that like excess bleeding light that's out, just draw it inwards and feel it, and just like really feel it steady there, like a diamond or like a burning fire, or however you want to conceive of it, steady there. And when you go out in the world, if you're going to share some energy or open up to other people's energy, it's done with like intention. It's like, okay, now I'm going to just like bleed out a little bit and share some of this. Or now I'm going to let other people share some of their energy with me. So you got to like engage in these practices. That's how we learn. Prasang says, today one of my friends met me. He didn't get the job and was very depressed. I just met him for some minutes and suffered the whole day. I was processing those emotions whole day. I think it's too much. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm like this as well, We're emotional beings. We're vibrational beings. So, I don't know the details of your situation. Doesn't matter so much. But like if your friend messages you and says, hey, I didn't get the job. Can I come see you right now? And you're like, I'm not really available, but he's my friend and I want to be a good friend. So, okay, we'll meet. And then you meet and he's, telling you about it and it's a lot for you. And you got to ask, are you really doing the best for him as well? Did you show up available for him, with full attention and presence, without resentment? Now, this may not be specific to your case. We don't have a lot of time to unpack your specific case, but in general, I think your friend would really appreciate it if you met him at a time where you're available to really hear his pain and struggles and worries, and that you don't show up when you're not available. We give her all, but then when we're not available to do that, we don't give anything. That's when we turn inwards and work on it, as opposed to spreading ourselves thin. It's difficult stuff. It's really difficult stuff. I know it's not easy at all. Aster Flower says, so do I. While we were having Kundalini, our chakras become more open and we become more vulnerable to others' energies, don't we? Yeah, you could say that. We move into our body and the nervous system becomes sensitive in general. You can say the chakras become open and become sensitive. Yeah, so we have to establish boundaries, and there's many ways we can do it. Therapy is a great way as well. It's a common thing that they deal with in therapy: codependency, people pleasing, being an empath. We call it all these different things, but this is therapy is they're equipped to handle this stuff very well, and I recommend it for those that are really struggling with these types of codependency, insecurity, etc. SRA says, yes, but I lose energy only by watching someone suffer or experience any kind of discomfort. Yeah. It's not easy to be with somebody in pain. Claire says, I find being a mirror for other people's experience stops me taking it on. Be a mirror, not a sponge. Love that. I love that. Yeah. Excuse me. Make sure you're meeting your own needs. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean here. If you're meeting your own needs, if you're being the best friend for yourself that you are trying to be for others, or partner or coworker or whatever, then we also will stop resenting other people for being a drain or whatever. Not easy, because as the heart opens, we want to help, we want to respond. That's only natural when the heart opens, right? But we have to learn how to live with an open heart. I love the example of, Ram Dass's guru, Neem Karoli Baba, Maharaji. Incredible stories of him, performing miracles and helping people and doing incredible things. But there was times where he would go into his room by himself and he would tell everybody, all right, see you later, leave, go away. And, this is one of the most evolved people to have ever walked the earth. And even he had the spine and the confidence to tell people, get out of here. Even he had to recharge and take care of himself. Right? So if he had to, of course I have to, of course you have to, even Jesus, he had to take his time alone, right? He wasn't always, a free-for-all allowing anybody to help him. He had to take his time alone, right? All these people, you can't do this without taking care of yourselves. It's impossible. You'll burn out. You'll resent the people that you're trying to help. Whether you're doing it as light work, as an overt spiritual role, or you're doing it for friends, family, etc. Self-care is super important. Any other questions there in the chat? Don't know how long I've been on live here, but it's been a fantastic session. This is a good time. It's about almost 5 p.m. Eastern where I'm at, and I'll try and keep that in mind. It seems like people are available at this time, or it just happens to line up through synchronicity. SRA says, yes, I'm alone for 1 day a week to recharge. Perfect. Aster Flower says, what is Kundalini to God the Creator? I mean, since it is found in all religions, even in Islam and Buddhism. Claire, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by, for sharing your wisdom, energy with us. Really appreciate it. Aster Flower, once again, what is Kundalini to God the Creator? I mean, since it is found in all religions, even in Islam and Buddhism. Well, I'm not too sure I understand the exact question here, but I'll use your words here. God the Creator. So Kundalini is Kundalini Shakti. It is the creative force of all existence. It's the creative force of the universe. It is what manifests as the world that we see, as everything we see, as the planet, space, galaxies, the atoms in your body, etc. That's Shakti. And all religions have some relationship with this force. Some will call it the creator, some will call it the creative force, the creative potential, the creative power. It is that intelligence that manifests the world. Welcome, Jewish account. Jewish accounts asking, my kriyas or not asking, but sharing here. My kriyas are slowly becoming more pronounced, unsure what to do but let go. That's the answer right there. There's nothing to do besides give yourself a safe space and time to let go into. So like in the most ideal situation, you could think you go into your room, or a room, it's comfortable, it's safe, put your phone off, sit down or lay down, and you just say, have your way with me, Divine Mother, Kundalini Shakti. Have your way with me. And you let go. And maybe something will happen, you'll start to experience some phenomena, and maybe nothing will happen. You just give yourself the time and space to allow this process to carry itself out. Careers becoming more pronounced are nothing going wrong. That's good. It's good that careers are becoming more pronounced. It means incredible healing and clearing is happening. So just give me 1 second here. Okay. So Jewish account says, sorry for my stupid username. Thought it was funny. That's okay. I don't feel specific chakras much. It's just this electric current in my spine associated with Kundalini is present. Maybe Sushumna Nadi. Yeah. Not everybody experiences like chakras in a very clear way. Got to remember as well, like the chakra system is a concept that we superimpose upon the human body. The human body is a one fluid thing. I like to think of it as, if you see a rainbow up in the sky, you don't say, oh my gosh, look at all of those 7 colors. Wow. And you don't pinpoint a color and say, oh, there's red, there's yellow. Oh, I see. You just say, oh, there's a rainbow. Same with your entire body. It's a rainbow. So you may not feel specific colors. Doesn't matter. Or colors or vortexes or whatever, see them, feel them, taste them, hear them, whatever. Doesn't necessarily have to happen that way. All right. Okay, so this was a great session, everybody. I'm going to start to wrap up here. I appreciate everybody joining in, sharing some great questions, some great insights here. All right, we'll take a last question from Aster Flower, and then we're going to wrap it up. Kundalini transformed me physically. My skin is clear, my voice is better, and I have become more empathic and understanding regarding my surroundings, waiting for the fortune and the big money. Can't say if we're all going to become rich just because we go through Kundalini Awakening. There's people that have gone through Kundalini Awakening and they were unknown, they died with nothing. But, this energy brings a great feeling of everything being okay, everything being peace, contentment. Whether you're rich, poor, it doesn't matter because, if I can get a little biblical here, you're rich in spirit. That's what really matters. But yeah, I wish abundance for everybody. Thanks everybody for a great session here. You can visit brentspirit.com for more free content. I've got some courses coming out that will dive deep into some of the things we've talked about today. You can stay tuned for that kind of stuff. I've got some ebooks online as well. If you'd like to join in one of my lives, you can find me on Instagram at brentspirit. If you're not on Instagram, no problem. You can also reach me by email, info@brentspirit.com. If you'd like to meet with me one-on-one, all of the information is there as well. If you'd like to support this work with a donation, you can find the links on my website, brentspirit.com as well. And until next time, thank you so much for joining. Much love and peace.